Perhaps this fact explains why these warriors would become tired easily and, in some long battles, would demonstrate exhaustion. Since the intention is to make energy arrive to the weapon, this is the point that should be focused. The movement and the ability are part of a different analysis. If we are to analyze only by means of Hara, we will incur in the study of a series of breathing processes and their respective syncopes so that, in the moment in which the energy starts to act, it becomes possible to reverberate the energy unleashed by the Hara. Many theories still diverge on terms of relaxed or contracted condition. Experiments accomplished with the two forms found out that the results were similar and that reverberation through the action-reaction process demonstrated that the person with the contracted Hara spent a larger amount of energy. After impact, the opposing force compels the practitioner who is with the Hara contract to maintain the structure of his attack. Logically, his demand for energy is greater. In the case of a relaxed Hara, it is believed that in a compensation technique, the palm of the hand that is placed in the front receives the reverberation from impact. The energy stays between the point where the strike took place and the specific hand. However, to this, there is also a negative point, which is the overloading of the elbow that may be in the future injured. Another aspect to be considered is that even if the bow is a long weapon that possesses a unique feature of being able to reach the enemy at some distance, its attack axis in relation to the distance made in combat alters its guideline in an assault. Different from the technique used in Botoken, the maintenance of a specific distance from the enemy that uses another long weapon induces the tori to position the ki in the back part of the stick while in a medium stance. Violent strikes and in a circular form would in the past distinguish this relatively rustic and broad technique. With the improvement of the forms and the ascension of the katana as a weapon of warfare, the emphasis of the ki placed in the bow established new guidelines in relation to this weapon, which designated the mai as a second technique used in the essence of the strikes. The strikes, in turn, would almost always be executed in a way that energy was placed at the end of the bow. Therefore, the specific attribute would alter the form practiced before. The force that formerly was divided amongst circular and alternate movements established the domain of the distance as the primary tactic against the katana. In this technique, the parallel axle of entry and exit characterize the potential used to deal with the distance, which favors violent downward strikes, called uchikomi, as a resource in breaking the opponent's weapon or forcing him to drop it. Some experts classify the bow as a weapon of strategic and belligerent nature, meaning that the weapon imposes its own combative personality and incites a reaction by the opponent. Physically, this new form transfers the weight of the weapon towards its tip, which is the focusing point of action of the ki during combat. This would hinder the parallel axis of combat, in disadvantage of the katana cutting and allowing the following strikes stronger by the use of the lever systems. The fact of moving in parallel to the yuke's movement facilitates an use of the hara in a diagonal angle in relation to this, which makes the energy of the technique solidify in the extremities. If the hara were in a perpendicular angle, the ancient technique would be characterized and the force of the lever could be classified as an angular movement. In the past, it was common that the circular technique would represent the maximum force of a body applied on a weapon. This crude reasoning can be easily exemplified when handling a long weapon by one of its ends and moving it circularly. The reasoning underlying this consisted in that while the yuke executed an attack, the tori would place himself to the side at a 90 degrees angle in relation to its opponent, using this lever in circularity in order to take advantage of the hip's power. Thus, we perceive that the way that the movement relates itself with the technique possesses a decisive influence in the relationship between tori and uke. The mai and the placement in relation to the axis of the yuke determines the fraction of energy applied in direct and consecutive strikes, while other maneuvers bring aspects that increase the advantage and seek to minimize the disadvantage that are induced by the technical movement given by the specific feature of the weapon.